Hey everybody, it's Rami Marks, your Tangled Yogi out here in California. Today we're going to be looking at a really fun tangle called Bonnie, and it was created by CZT Jennifer Jones. Hi Jennifer, thank you so much for this great tangle, I really love it. And so I taught this class a couple of weeks ago to my students, and they really loved it, and they asked if I would please make a video of it so that they could do it again. And so what I've done is I've paired up Bonnie with Henna drum and some color that I think was really fun with the class. And so it was a big hit, so I thought I would share it with you. A couple of things that you're going to need for class. You're going to need a micron PN. This is my favorite micron. I know a lot of you like to use more fine-tipped microns. That's fine too. So if you want to work with your microns, that's fine. But I'm using a PN and I'm using the black. Then I am also going to be using this Mono Twin that I love. I've fallen in love with this pen. This is, I believe, made by Tombow, and it's a great pen because it's got a fine liner and a more robust liner. Great for puddling. It's just an overall great pen. If you don't have one of these and you have an IdennaPen or you have an 08, that's a great one to have as well, to have handy. The other thing I have is a little golfing pencil. I have my little Tangled Yogi golfing pencils. This will be great for when we're creating our string. And then finally, I wanted to talk about the color pencils that I've been using lately. I've been really enjoying these Ergo Softs, and I think they're a great pencil in terms of blending for color. So I will be using these today. I also have with me some of my Prismacolors. I'm a big fan of the Prismacolor pencils. Their pigmentation is fantastic, and you can get a set for pretty inexpensive, and it's a really great bang for your buck in terms of if you're looking for a great colored pencil. The colors are just fantastic. I love these. So both of those will be used today. And then finally, for those of you who know me, you know I'm a bit of a paper snob. I have my Genesis tile here. I made these for my students because I wanted to have a really super smooth cardstock for them so that their pens didn't skip. And these particular cards receive color so well. I'm a big fan of the paper that we created here. Now, if you don't happen to have any of the Tangled Yogi tiles, you can always use Rick and Maria's Apprentice tile. While it's not as smooth as mine, it's a great tile and I really enjoy it. So there's that. I also like it because of the size. The size is really nice for creating a composition. So there is all of the things that you will need for class today. So if you need to gather those things, you can pause me here. Otherwise, we are going to get ourselves started by settling in and just quieting ourselves down so that we can begin. So take a comfortable seated position. And when you feel ready, allow your eyes to close, or you can just take a soft gaze. And let's take a moment to take a few deep breaths right here. Taking a nice deep breath in. Letting it go with a sigh. Let's take two more of those right here. And one more. And just feel yourself sitting in your chair. Allow your spine to grow comfortably tall. Let your shoulders melt away from your ears. Allow your forehead to soften. Unfurrow your brows. Soften through your jaw and your tongue. You can take a gentle swallow to relax your throat muscles. Feeling open and released in the chest and in the belly. Notice your sitting bones making connection with your chair. Feel your feet connecting with the floor. Allowing your body to be relaxed and at ease. So as we practice today in our Zentangle practice, you may notice that determination shows up where you might furrow your brow or shrug your shoulders up towards your ears, or you may just hold your breath. Anytime you notice that you're doing any of those things, I want you to remember this space that we're in right now, this place of ease and relaxation. So that if you notice, oh, I'm holding my breath, let me take in a nice deep breath and exhale it out and come back to a place of ease. So let's take in one more breath right here together. Exhale. And let's begin. All right, so let's take our tile off here. I'm going to let that go. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my pencil and start with that. Let me get this guy out of the way here. So I'm going to start with my pencil, and like we always do in the Zentangle line of things, we are going to do our 4 dots. So let's go ahead and do our 4 dots here. And you can tell I'm pretty shallow in the corners there. And then I'm going to go ahead and I'm very lightly with my pencil going to connect my dots the best way that I can. And you may notice that, you know, it's not perfect, and that's just fine. You can see that I'm turning my tile to make it easy for myself. So there you have it. And now, once we know where we're going with this, what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and we are going to make a diagonal line from point to point, from the upper left-hand corner to the upper right-hand corner. And then we'll go ahead and we'll do the same thing over here. And then once you've done that, we're going to go ahead and we'll make a dot right here. And we're going to go ahead and divide the space again, and then we'll go one more time. So you should have a really nice splitting of the page here, a nice string for yourself. So once you've got that, what I want you to do is I want you to go about halfway to the center. Well, you're going to go halfway down this diagonal line in this upper left-hand corner. Can everybody see how I have this square right here? So we're just going to work in this quadrant right here. And once you've done your little dot on that square, you're going to go ahead and you're going to switch into your pen. I know, pretty scary, huh? That was so fast. So once you've got that, we're going to be looking at these 2 dots right here. So there's the dot that I had used in the corner to create my original outline. I'm just going to make that dot a little bit more present there for myself. And then I'm going to create 2 more dots, and you'll see in a minute what I'm up to. So I'm going to go right here, and I'm going to go right here. So everybody see, there's the tail end of it, here's the first side, and then I've got these 2 dots in the corner. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to start with these 2 dots and make them a little bit more pronounced. And once I've got them a little bit more pronounced, I'm going to go from the inside of the dot here, and I'm going to go and make a V line towards that center dot. Did everybody see how I did that? Then I'm going to come up here and I'm going to go ahead and use that dot as my starting point, and I'm going to go to the outside of those 2 little circles. So this is a lot like Stella. In fact, I would say this is Stella, but in a variation form. So once I've got that, now I'm just going to turn my tile so that I can work with this corner right here. Can everybody see where I am? I'm just going to make a little dot right in the center there for myself, and then I'm going to come out about, I'm going to say, 1/4 of the way, make my 2 dots on either side of that central line, and I'm going to start by going from the inside of those 2 dots, making my V line. You can hear my dog Mojo just got up and walked away, and now I'm going up from the top, and out to the outside. Everybody see how that happened? So that's the beginning of our tangle here today, and we're going to be repeating that a couple of times. But before we carry on, we're going to split it a little bit, and I'll show you what I mean by that. At the top of our Bonnie here, we're going to go ahead and we're going to make a little V, and then we're going to puddle that in. And because I have my PN and it's such a small puddle, I'm just going to go ahead and do it. And then once I've puddled there, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to split it, and then I'm going to divide here, and I'm going to divide right here. I'm going to go over to the first side where I started. I'm going to make a nice V right here. I'm going to puddle that in, and then I'm going to split it. And then I'll make a V line right here and a V line right there. So that, my friends, is the beginning of Bonnie. So if you found like that was a lot of information all in one shot, take a moment to pause and you can rewind and look at that again. Otherwise, I'm just going to carry on. And for those of you who are with me, just stick with me. All right, I'll see you in a minute. So let's go ahead and carry on to the opposite side here. So I'm just going to go into this box right here. So can everybody see that? I'm in the diagonal from here to there. I'm just going to make a dot right in the center. I already have my place where I'm going to start up here. Now I'm going to come away about a quarter of the way from that area, and on either side of that central divider I'm going to make 2 dots. Now you'll notice that I'm a little bit far away from these borders over here so that I've got some space. So I'm just going to go ahead now, and from the inside of those dots I'm going to go 1 and 2, making that beginning of V line there. And then I'm going to come out here, I'm going to start from here, and watch, I'm going to end on the outside of those dots. See how that happened? The outside of those dots. I'm going to turn my tile to make it easy for my hand. I'm left-handed if you couldn't already tell. And then I'm coming up from this area right here. I come down about a quarter of the way. I'm going to make my 2 circles, little circle dots there, a little pronounced. I'm going to make my V line, 1 and 2. Let's get that line to be nice and clean. And then here we go, right here, outside and outside. Now we'll embellish Bonnie a little bit. We're going to give her the V at the tip. We go ahead and we are going to puddle her in. And then we divide her. And then we divide again. Notice how I'm rejoining back with that center line. Rejoining. If you want to pause right here, this is a great place to pause. Otherwise, I'm just going to carry on to right here. Here I go. I'm turning my page. I'm going to embellish Bonnie. Give her her little V line or her little diamond at the top. I'm going to divide it. And then I divide her again and divide her again. It's very elegant, very pretty design. I just love this tangle. It's one of my favorites. So if you need to pause right here, this is a great place to pause. Otherwise, I'm going to carry on into these 2 areas. Here we go. So here I am. I'm up in this square right here. I'm going to go into that center line. See, here's my center line. I'm going to lay down a dot. Then I'm going to come up here and make a little dot for myself. Now I'm coming out about a quarter of the way, and I'm making 2 more intense dots right there. Here I go. You ready? So I'm starting with my 2 intense dots, and I'm going to V-line. I'm going from the inside. Now I'm coming up to the top, and then I go to the outside. There she is. I'm going to turn. I know where I'm starting from. I come about a quarter of the way out. I make my 2 dots right here. starting from right here. Actually, no, I'm not starting from right there. Oop, got a little bit ahead of myself. Let's go ahead and start from the inside of those dots, make my V-line. And now I'm going to go ahead and do the outside, the outside. I make my diamond, fill it in, divide, divide, and then I'm going to come over here and do the same thing. It's just the same thing. Here I am up at the top, make my little diamond or my V, divide, divide, and last one, divide. So now I have this corner right down here and I'm ready to go there. So I'm just going to start by finding the center, putting in a little dot for my center, and then I'm going to come from the top here. I'm looking for about 1/4 of the way down. I make my 2 dots, dividing that center line right there. Now I'm going to go from the inside, make your V-line, make your V-line. Right from the center here, see where my pen is? I'm going to go from the outside. There's the outside, there's the outside. Make a diamond. We'll embellish her. Ooh, I got a little bit ahead of myself because I didn't do the other side, but it's okay, however you want to do it. And then I'll go ahead and I'll flip again just to get it so that I've made it easy for my hand here. Always make it easier for your hands, because then you end up with scrunched shoulders and furrowed brows if you're having trouble and you end up contorting your body just to make it happen. So here I go. I'm making my V-line. I'm coming in. There it is. From the top here and swinging out, make a diamond. And then go ahead and divide, divide again, and one last time. Well, look who just showed up. It's Bonnie. Pretty great, pretty easy and fun. I know it seems a little complicated, but you got there, you made it. Congratulations. So what we're gonna do with Bonnie is we're gonna add a little bit of an aura to her. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna start in this upper corner right here, and you can see there's a little spot on my page. Here, I'll blow in there for you to see. See how there's a little dot right there? I'm gonna use that dot. That was a nice opportunity for me. So I'm just gonna go in there and I am going to start to tightly aura Bonnie. See how I'm doing that? So I'm just tightly auraing Bonnie, and you can see now I'm going to dip into that crevasse that was just there. See how that happened? So now I'm going to blow out just a little bit so that you can see where I'm going. I'm just going to carry on. So I'm making this as easy for my hand as possible. So I'm just going to turn my tile to make it easier now. And I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to continue to aura all the way around the outside of Bonnie. Give a little dip, come back up, turn the tile, make it easy for my hand. Coming around, back to center. And you know, it doesn't have to be perfect. The whole idea of this is we're creating art, and art isn't perfect. If it was perfect, it would be boring, I think. So here I go. I'm coming around. This will probably be the last side of the aura here. Coming up and over, coming into that little crevasse in there, scooping around. Da, 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 da. There you have it. There is our aura'd Bonnie. So if you need to take a break right here, this is a great place to pause. And if you are going to carry on, then carry on with me. So right about now, what we're going to do is we are going to bring in Henna Drum. Henna Drum is one of my favorite tangles to do. For some reason, it just speaks to me. It has such a nice gravity to it. So we are going to add Henna Drum into our piece. So with that said, I'm going to go in here and you can see that I'm going to come away from my petals just a little bit, or my Bonnie there. And I'm going to come about halfway down the line here. Can you see that? So there was one line here, and then there's a line right here, and I'm going to come about halfway up that line as well. And then I'm going to do a little half moon or crescent moon. And you can see that it's, it's got some robustness to it. See how there's a little bit of area in there? That's what we're looking for. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to aura that one more time. So take your time with this aura and make it a really nice one. You will be working inside the aura with color. So you can see my aura is pretty tight, but I do have enough room to add a little bit of color in there. Okay? So with that said, we're gonna continue on to make our henna drum. So I'm just gonna turn my page here. So now there's henna drum. And what I will do is I'm going to give that henna drum some antennae. See how that worked? So see how I've got a nice space in there? Also notice that I'm far away from here because I want to give that a little bit of space. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to aura those little antenna pieces that I created. I'm going to come over here and I'm going to do the exact same thing. So notice I'm on the diagonal here. And I just aura'd it again, and I'm going to go over here, and I'm going to aura it again. So watch, and then we'll do. If you took Spanish in high school, you'll know something called, I think it's called an enye, and that's what it always looks like to me when I'm doing this. So I'm just going to make a curved line, scoop it down, and then come back and up. So I just brought that to the two inner lines. Do you see how that happened? That's just to the two inner lines. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to come over here now, and I'm going to do it to these two inner lines. See how that happens? So it's just to there. Finally, I'll come over here, and I'll do the exact same thing. Now notice that I've got these two guys on the outside right there. So we're going to pretend that they're going to hit something. So I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to make that swoop, and then I'm going to let it drop off the page. And over here, notice how there's Bonnie right there. I'm going to really try my hardest not to hit Bonnie and go out. So there's my henna drum. Now with that said, if you need to pause right here to finish up your henna drum, you can do that. Or if you'd like to continue with me, what I'm going to do is I'm going to do these really nice little pen flicks in here. I think it was Molly that I saw doing these at the 1440 the last time they were here, where she went and she flicked her pen and gave it these really beautiful details. So that is going to be the henna drum. All right, so we're going to take a pause right here. I'm going to do henna drum in these three areas right in here, and I'll meet you back in a minute. All right, take your time, and I'll see you soon. Okay, so you can see that I've had a chance to go around and do all of my henna drum in the areas that I had here. And you can tell they're not perfect, they're just the way they are. So we are going to continue on here, and I'm going to break out that monotwin that we talked about a little bit earlier in the practice here, and we are going to do some puddling. So I'm going to grab the more robust side of the monotwin here, and you can see that I'm going to start to work right in here. Since I'm left-handed, that's going to be an easy spot for me. So I'm going to go in, and I want you to watch just for a second. you can see that I am working my pen in a circular like motion. When we tend to do this kind of thing, we get lines. If we do it like this, where it's working in a circle, we get a really nice smooth application of color. The other thing to note is that my pen is barely scratching the page. I always call it tickling the paper because that releases the ink in a much more easy flowing way than if I was pushing really hard on the pen. So you can see how fast that happened with a nice big thick nib. So if you have like an 08 sitting around, or you have an IdentiPen, or I know sometimes I mention this, you can use a Sharpie, but you have to be really careful because they bleed a little bit. That ink is a little bit unpredictable, but when in doubt, if you really need something that will help you to puddle in and get a nice clean edge, that might work too. So you can see that I'm just going around to each one and I am puddling it in a nice circular way. So you really want to keep that circular like motion, barely scratching the page here. And then that way you get a really nice clean edge. So sometimes you might notice that you get like little white spots in your puddling, and that kind of gives you away as to whether or not you are you're scratching the page or you are using that up and down motion. Mainly you want to work in a circular like motion, and I talk about this a lot when I teach color as well. That circular like motion is going to give you that smoky edge. All right, so go ahead and finish up your puddling into your henna drum, and then we'll meet you here in a minute. So hopefully you've had an opportunity to finish up puddling your henna drum. And I want you to start to think about the color that you want to see on the inside here for your Bonnie. And when I say your inside, I'm talking about these pieces right here. Can you see that? I'm talking about these pieces. So I want you to start to think about what is the color that you want to see there. So I know for myself, I've really been enjoying these ErgoSoft pencils, and we've been talking about using different kinds of pencils in class and what works for people, and I just really fell in love with these. So I'm going to start by doing a little bit of red with mine, and I'll show you what I'm going to do with it. So I'm starting right here, and I'm going to go ahead and go in. Now notice I am using a really light tension for filling in. So for those of you who have never done color theory with me before, I just want to give you a quick color theory class. So your pencil here is 3 different colors. You have your light, you have your medium, and you have your dark. So it's all about the pressure that you're applying to the pen or to the pencil. So when I go back in here and I tell you that I am filling in those areas of Bonnie here with light pressure, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Now, when I go in here and I add a little bit of that medium tension, you can start to see that I'm going to get a little bit of depth. I'm going to leave a little light right over here. I'm going to blow that up so you can really see it. See how there's a little light right in here? But my medium tension's coming up to that light. And I'll do the same thing on the other side. And then finally I'll go back in with a really nice heavy tension, just almost to the edge of that medium, just to give it a little bit of depth. I'm going to do the same thing out here. So see how I'm on this edge right here? I'm going to do the same thing right here. So let's get right up there so you can see. So I'm right here. And then now I'm going to go in with that medium tension. medium tension. Notice how I'm leaving the light here. See that? I'm leaving that light. And now I'm going to go in with that heavy, heavy tension just to give it that depth. Isn't that pretty? It really starts to give that the depth that we're looking for. Okay, so we're going to go around and we're going to do that in all of our Bonnies here. So take a moment, do the exact same thing over here, and over here, and I'll meet you in a minute. Okay, so you can see that I've had a chance to go around all the way around for Bonnie here, and she's already starting to come alive. Isn't that so beautiful? So we're going to start to continue with Bonnie, and we're going to use a different color for this next part. So I am coming in here with a really nice contrasting navy blue. I thought it would be really fun to use a contrasting color. I like to use a lot of contrasting colors with my pieces just because it makes them more vivid to me. And that is something that I enjoy in my pieces. So I'm going to start to work in these areas right here. Can you see that I'm talking about this and this right in here? So I'm going to come in here and I'm going to blow this up for you. So here I go. Same principle on this one. I'm working with that light tension, circular-like motion with that pencil so I'm not getting scratch lines. And you can see how nice this pencil is. It really is kind of a smoky, creamy kind of pencil. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to start to give that medium tension. Now notice, I am leaving some light in there. We need to have some light so that that blue is going to have something to contrast on. So there's my light, there's my medium, and now I'm going to come in here and I'm going to give it a little bit of that heavy, heavy tension. And you can see that that starts to make it pop, right? So with that said, now I'm going to see if I can come out just a little bit for you here. So now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to come up here and I'm going to do the same thing up here. I'm going to go in, I fill it in, nice light tension, smoky, smoky. And then what I'm going to do is I'm looking at this corner right here, coming in with that medium tension on the pencil, medium tension on the pencil on this side, leaving that light. See how I'm leaving that light right there? Let me blow that up. See how that got left light right there? And then I'm going in with that heavy, heavy tension. There's the medium tension, there's the light, okay? So what you're gonna do is you're gonna go around now and you're gonna do these spots right in here, this right here and here, this right here and here. And I'll meet you on the other side, okay? Take your time, enjoy the color, and don't forget to breathe. So we're back and we have hopefully gone all the way around and put the blue into all of the center pieces. It's really starting to come along quite nicely. So I'm going to talk a little bit about color theory here for a minute because my next part is going to require a little bit of it. I'm going to use a contrasting color to go into my aura lines that are going all the way around Bonnie here. Now whenever you have a color that is very light in viscosity, and what I mean by that is when you have a color that's light in viscosity like a yellow or a tan, sometimes you need to have a color that is a little bit stronger in pigmentation to give you the depth that you're looking for. So if you're using a yellow, choosing a yellow that is close to the pigmentation of the yellow that you've started with. Right here, I'm working with a really nice kind of light tan, almost oatmeal color, and I've got a little bit of a deeper tan color that I'm going to use to give me that depth that I'm looking for. And I'm going to illustrate that for you right now. So let's go out just a little bit. I'm going to come up into Bonnie here, right in here in the crevasse, and I'm just going to start on this whole left side so you can see what I mean by needing a little bit of depth here. So I'm going all the way up this side And I'm coming around the aura line here, and hopefully that's showing up nicely in the video. So here we are, got this nice lay down of color there. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab now that darker color. So here was the first color, and now I'm switching into the darker color. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to look for a little bit of depth. So I'm going to come in here and I'm going to add a little bit of depth right about here. And then I'm going to pause and leave some light. I'll bring in a little bit of depth right in here. I'm going to pause on this roundabout, and then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to do it again where I'm adding depth. Now on this one I'm using medium tension just to give a little bit of that intensity. I'm going to pause in the center and leave a little bit of light. Bring in the depth over here. Let me see if I can make that a little bit bigger for you so you can see that. And then once we get up here, I'm going to pause around the roundabout. So I'm going to get in there, pausing on the roundabout, and then I'll come back up and over here. So you can see that that's creating a little bit of shimmer and a little bit of motion, which is really good for this particular piece. It does have a lot of shimmer and motion when you get to it. So I'll come around the other side now. I'll go back to my first pencil and I'll finish that out so that you can see a little bit more of what's going on here. And you can see that I'm trying to use as much of a circular-like motion with my pencil as I can. So we're getting that nice light color in. I just switched into my darker color now. I see right here, there's my darkness, so I want to continue that on this side. So I'm just going to continue that darkness. Now notice how the tip stays light here, right? And then I'll come over here, making that darkness in this area. There's light here, so I won't add any there, but I will add it over here. Carrying on, once I get around the roundabout, I'll add a little bit more depth. So you can see that that gives a little bit of movement inside the color itself. And once you get that all over the tangle, it'll really be something to see. So I'm just gonna continue a little bit more with this so that you can see what I'm up to. And we'll pause when I get halfway through and you guys can finish on your own. So I'm going back to that original light color and I'm laying down the color here. I'll turn my tile just so that it makes it easy for my hand. And on this one, I think I'll just go all the way around for you so that you can really see what goes on with the shading. Make it nice and easy for yourself. So here I am, already back to the center here. All right, so I've only done that light color. And I'm just going for any places where I'm seeing white and cleaning that up. Now I'm gonna go in and I'm gonna do my shading, right? So what I'll do is I'll come down into the corner here, add a little bit of depth. I'm going to add a little bit of depth right down in here as well. I leave the roundabout alone, right? And then I'm going to come up here. I will pause once I get to the center here. I'm using that darker color, pausing here, coming in, laying down that darker color, pause around the roundabout, give it a little depth right about here. Coming over here, I'm leaving the tip of the spear alone. Pause around the roundabout, and once again, adding color in here, and then adding color there. Isn't that interesting? It just gives it a little bit of shimmer and a little bit of movement. It's pretty nice. So go ahead and do that in all 4 of your spears here, and we will see you in a minute. Okay, so hopefully you've had a chance to go in through all of those corners. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna start to work with henna drum here. Now I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, well, what about that space in between? We'll work on that last. So let's talk about color for a second. One of the things that I really like to do in my pieces is I like to carry a color around the piece quite a bit. Sometimes I will challenge myself to just use 4 colors or 3 colors just so that I can tell the story in a way that the eye will bounce around on the canvas. So what I'm doing here with henna drum is I'm choosing to use this red here in my petals. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to start by using that red, and I'm going to go in and lay down that really nice smoky light tension red. You can see that my pencil is working in that circular-like motion. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and do medium tension now. So you can see I'm applying a little bit more pressure. I'm using that circular-like motion because we don't want to get any of those weird edges. And then watch, what's going to happen is I'm going to start to fade out. What that means is I'm lightening up on my pencil as I move away from that heavier tension, so I'm not getting a huge line of demarcation there. I have that nice light, I've got a medium, and now what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in here with a really nice, luscious, deep red towards the center. It really gives it a pop that I love. So I'm going to go through and do all of these petals in here just like that one. So if you want to catch up with me, you can go ahead and catch up with me. This is a great place to pause, and I'll see you in a minute. All right, so I've had a chance to fill in all of henna drum here, and you can see that I have that nice lightness on the tips and the depth that's coming in towards the center here. It's really quite lovely. I'm going to go back to that really pretty blue that I used right in here for my inside of my henna drum. So I'm going to show you what I mean by that. I'm going into that really nice aura that we created of that crescent moon. And you can see that I'm going to leave the center of that aura white just to kind of give it a little bit of a shimmer, as it were. And then what I'll do is I've been using that light tension. Now I'm going to go in with a little bit of that darker tension right here on the sides, like so. And I just love being able to make the eye bounce around from the blue to the red, and I plan on doing that throughout. Now what I could also do is I could take a little bit of that tan and bring that into this area as well. So with that said, I'm going to have you go around and do all of your henna drums with that pretty color that you used right in here, and then choose the color from your center and bring that into your aura line. If you want to vary it up a little bit, be my guest, be my guest. Da, 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 da. I am merely making suggestions. You are the artist here, so it's your world. I'm just living in it right now. Okay, so I'll see you in a minute. Finish up your henna drums, and then we'll work on the final part. See you soon, and don't forget to breathe. Okay, so we're back. And you can see that I've had a chance to go all the way around the henna drum. And what I did was I used the blue inside of these two where the aura is. You can see that. And then I took that really pretty tan color and I carried it into here and here. And I just thought that was so pretty and interesting. Now we're going to start to work with the negative space that's around these here, and I'm going to carry out that blue once again into these spaces here. I'm really enjoying carrying those colors around, so I thought I would share it with you. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come into this space right here, and I'll illustrate it for you. So I'm basically laying down a really nice color, very, very light tension, and I'm using that circular-like motion here. And I'm going to fill in all the way around those petals in my henna drum. So you can see that I'm even dipping into these wells here and down into here. And I really want to make sure that I'm not letting too much light peek through from underneath. So I'm really being aware of my pencil and how much white is creeping through in the background here. You really want to make sure that's nice and clean. So once I've gotten that whole side done, I'm going to show you the shading pattern that we're going to do with this particular blue. I've got that all cleaned up in there. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go around the edge of Bonnie here. So I'm just laying down that medium tension now. You can see that I'm starting to get a nice shadow of Bonnie. So I'm just kind of getting in there and I'm following that line, and you can see that it's creating an aura pattern in here. That's quite lovely. So I'm really just trying to get that shadow to show up. And I apologize for the background noise. That is my dog chewing on a bone. So here we go. So now what I'm going to do is along that black line there, I am really pressing on my pencil to get a little bit heavier tension on it. And that is really going to make that whole area stand out just a bit more. So we're using our light, we're using the medium, we're using the dark, just to give it a really nice intensity. And you can see that that whole side of the tile is now starting to glow because of the shading that we just did. And you can see also that there is that lightness in there too. Remember, you can't have the dark without the light, right? So we've got that nice medium tension, and then we have the light that is traveling around in there as well. So always remember that you want to have those three. What I see a lot with my students is that they do really well with either the light or the really, really dark, but they seem to be afraid of the medium. So I really want to emphasize the medium here for you guys, that you really, really want to have that medium tension in there. It gives that nice progression from the light, the medium, and the dark. Okay, so go ahead and fill in all those areas in the negative spaces, and I'll see you in a minute. Okay, so we are back, and I have had the opportunity to fill in all the way around that negative space with that really pretty blue, and it's really getting it to be quite glowing and pretty. I didn't expect this tile to turn out this way, to be quite honest with you. I never really know how a tile is going to turn out until I'm done with it. It's always a great adventure. So we are going to finish up our edges here, and I'm going to talk about a couple of things before we go. So the first thing that I want to do is I want to finish up all my edges on the outside. You can see that those were still penciled in. So I'm going to come in here with my PN, and I'm just going to clean up those edges. And you can see that I'm turning my tile to make it easy for my hand. And any place where it's not meeting up, perfectly, I'll do my best to clean up that line and make it nice and even, the best that I can. Remember, we're not looking for perfection here. We're just looking to do our best, right? So I'm just going in and cleaning up those lines. You can see there's a little bit of white, so I'll clean that up. And then I'm coming in here and cleaning that up as well. So I'm really just getting those edges nice and defined. So you can see that that makes the piece have a more finished appeal to it, which I really like. Now, before we finish today and put our initials on this piece, I wanted to talk a little bit about adding white to a piece. I'm going to bring back in this first piece here that I did with Bonnie. And you can see in the corners here, I've added some white dots and added some white dots into the henna drum and added some white embellishment. Let me see if I can get that to come a little bit closer. And I really think it gave it kind of a shimmering appeal, and it was something that I really, really enjoyed. Now, if you don't have a white pen, don't worry about it. You could use, if you do have white pens, but they're not the kind that I use, those are fine too. So like the Jelly Roll pens are, some people really enjoy those. My personal favorite is, I love this, I think it's called the Signo Uniball pen. I love this pen because the white is so nice, but the problem with this pen is it is temperamental in terms of like getting it started, and sometimes it just doesn't want to lay down pigmentation. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in here. You can see that I've got this blue right in here, and I'm just going to start by adding a little bit of those dots right over here, and I might add some over here just for fun. And you could even add those dots even into the tan. And you can see it's a really nice white. It does show up quite well. That's my only qualm about the Jelly Rolls, is that I have to go over them a few times in order to get them to show up. Now I'm going to come in here too and add some dots as well. So I'll come up here and I'll lay down a couple of these. And it just gives it a little bit of sparkle. You may even try this with like a metallic pen. That could be neat, like a silver metallic might be really nice, or even a gold would be interesting to see. I'm always up for embellishment if it suits my needs, and recently I've just been really enjoying this pen a lot more. I find that if I barely touch the paper with it, it's more apt to give me less of a problem. The more I push on it, the harder it is for me to get it to do what I want it to do. So you can see that I'm just kind of going around and adding some white here, there, wherever it feels right to me. I'm gonna kind of play with it and see what's what. So if that speaks to you, go ahead and grab whatever white pencil you have or white pen that you have and play with it. I'm gonna come up here and maybe see if I can add it in here. It gives it a more festive kind of feeling. Who would have thought dots would be such a thing, but dots, they're great. All right, so enough playing around with this. You get the idea that, if you add a little bit to it, it goes a long way. You can see that it gave it an interest that wasn't there before. Oh, I forgot this guy down here, so we'll just add a couple more in over here and maybe up over here. Last time, right in here. I might add a couple of dots right in there just for some embellishment. All right, so fun, just a thought at the end. Now, the last part of this is your chalk. So your chalk is your initial, and you'll end up playing with your initials a bunch before you find the chalk that works for you. I think I went through 4 or 5 different chalks before I found the chalk that worked for me. So when I'm doing my initials, I generally like to hide my initials in a piece. And because these are Zentangles, you can flip them around in all different directions, and it really doesn't change anything. That's what I love about Zentangle, is that you can have it upside down and it's perfect. You can have it on its side and it's perfect. So I seem to have found a little spot over here that speaks to me to throw my chalk in. So I'm going to do it right here. And so I'm just going to put my chalk in, and there's my R. I do my dots. So you can hide your chalk wherever you like on your piece. And there we have it. There is Bonnie. Now, I don't know if I mentioned in the beginning of our class, Bonnie was created by Jennifer Jones, who is a CZT, and I just wanted to say a special thank you to her because this has been such a fun piece for me to work with, and I'm so glad that I got to do a class with it. And what I love about these classes is you can have a piece that looks like a really pretty Spanish tile, or you can have a piece that just is glowy and fun. And different. They're never the same class twice. They're never the same tangle twice. It's always different. You can see that my approach here, my center was a lot bigger, and here my center was a lot smaller. So you just never know what you're going to get when you try a tangle twice. So that's the class. I really hope you've enjoyed it. If you liked the video, please give me a thumbs up on YouTube or leave me a nice review. I would really appreciate it. I'm trying to build my online presence. And I hope to see you again soon. So until we tangle again, don't forget to breathe. I'm Rami Marks, your Tangled Yogi. Bye for now.